Alyssa Milano has called for a sex strike in response to Georgia's anti-abortion law, or specifically the law in Georgia that the heartbeat bill. Basically, as soon as the heartbeat is detected, a woman can't get an abortion. I'm not going to talk about the abortion bill. I'm going to talk about the concept of a sex strike and some of the responses to it. Because there's an important thing that I've been talking about over the past week or so, and it's that the left really doesn't understand the right at all. And I'm somebody who's kind of moderate, right? So I'm in the middle, and I do my best to try and understand both liberals and conservatives. And that's probably why you'll find me pointing in one direction very often. Because conservatives very much so understand the liberal mindset. Liberals do not understand the conservative mindset. That is not my opinion. That is research done by Jonathan Haidt. So we've actually seen this in studies. So when you see Alyssa Milano say, unless we get body autonomy, we are not going to have sex with people anymore, all she's really saying is that the men who already agree with her are not going to get laid. It makes quite literally no sense. When I was younger, I heard the pro-choice, pro-life argument, and I was very much confused by this idea that the left was always saying men were trying to regulate women's bodies. And I'm confused by that because while I understand Congress is predominantly male, especially back then, women were voting for these men. And women were going on TV and talking about how they needed pro-life, rules and law. So I was confused as to why they thought it was men. It's almost like they don't realize the government is comprised of people, us, who are voted into power. So let's take a look at what Alyssa Milano is doing and why she's doing it. And admittedly, this is from Fox News, which is kind of on purpose because it's going to contrast Alyssa Milano's tweets and the tweets to her. So she gets brutally mocked, they say. Taking a cue from the literature of ancient Greece, actress and political activist Alyssa Milano called for a sex strike Friday in response to the heartbeat bill that Georgia Governor Brian Kemp recently signed into law. The new law outlaws abortions in the state at 6 weeks into the pregnancy. Georgia is one of several states in recent weeks that have passed legislation forbidding doctors from ending pregnancies when a heartbeat can be detected, which is roughly 6 weeks. Critics of such legislation have argued that many women don't discover that they're pregnant in 6 weeks, and this is a very, very important point. So the left is arguing, and I don't want to get too much into the abortion stuff because I made like 4 videos about it, but the left is arguing that many women don't even realize they're pregnant, and so by the time they do, they won't be able to get an abortion. So I'll leave it there. So apparently a bunch of companies are saying they're not going to film in Georgia anymore. I don't think Georgia cares. I think the governor and the pro-life individuals care more about the life of the child and, the sanctity than they do whether or not your industry comes to their state and spends money. It's really interesting that they think withholding sex and withholding production money is an incentive for people in Georgia to be like, to all of a sudden be like, oh, okay, our morals are going to change. This is what I mean when I say the left, the liberals don't understand conservatives. And you know what? I gotta stop. I'm not gonna say liberal. The left, because liberal does mean something else, and you can be liberal and understand these concepts. It's very, very simple. If you listen to a conservative, and their argument is that life begins at conception, I'm pretty sure if a company says, oh yeah, well, if you don't allow abortion, we'll stop giving you money, they're going to be like, I don't believe in killing babies. Like, no amount of money is going to change my mind in that regard. More importantly, let's talk about the absurdity of a sex strike, because this shows another example of how, I criticized this. And then some leftists were like, oh, Tim, why don't you just admit it? You're a conservative. And it's like, dude, just because Alyssa Milano tweeted out a nonsensical piece of insanity that got a bunch of people on the left high-fiving each other that means nothing and solves nothing, doesn't mean I'm a conservative. I'm going to criticize her because what she's proposing makes literally no sense. She says, weird. Okay, first of all, conservatives are applauding her, saying, that's right. If you're not going to be responsible and you consider getting an abortion, you shouldn't be having sex. Who was it? Somebody tweeted, Shoe on Head. Let's pull this up. Shoe on Head, June, says, no sex is what the pro-life types have been preaching for decades as a solution for unwanted pregnancies. Did 4chan come up with this and you all fell for it or what? Seriously. And look, she did get ratioed, okay? But ratio doesn't really mean that much. A lot of people act like getting ratioed means more than it really does. Of course, she's getting a lot of criticism, but let's go through her tweet. Our reproductive rights are being erased. Until women have legal control over our own bodies, We just cannot risk pregnancy. Join me by not having sex until we get bodily autonomy back. I'm calling for a sex strike. Pass it on. First, let's start with the obvious. What's wrong with this? You don't get to have sex either. I guess they're like, they expect a bunch of guys to go, oh no, oh God, oh, we're not going to get laid. I assure you, most women probably aren't going to see this and don't care. And it's only going to impact guys who already agree with you. And I will also add, I'm sure most guys probably would just grumble and go for a wank, right? It's not that big of a deal. But maybe it is to women. I don't know. There's a bunch of women who are like high-fiving, going like, yes, like, woo, we're not going to do it with men. And it's like, conservative guys are still going to get laid because conservative women still agree with them. Albeit, I'd assume the conservatives are much more conservative in hooking up, whereas liberals are much more liberal in hooking up, to use the alternate meanings of the word. So here was my response. I said, basically, men who agree with you won't get laid. It's like they think every single woman is pro-choice. Right. There are conservative women who believe that, hooking up before marriage is fine. They're not, ultra-traditionalist or traditionalist or anything like that. And so that means you can easily find a libertarian woman who's going to be like, oh, that's nonsense. You can find someone who's pro-life. Like, okay, I know a ton of women who say something like, they don't believe in abortion. They're still willing to hook up. And if they do, they'll just have the baby. So they're not going to agree with you, Alyssa Milano. Let's go back to the Fox story though, and see what some of the things they highlight, and then we'll go through the tweets. They say the idea is far from new. In ancient Greece, the playwright Aristophanes wrote, really Aristophanes? Lysistrata, in which the title character persuades other women to deny their husbands of sex until they end a war. More recently, director Spike Lee's 2015 film Chirac transferred the same idea to modern-day Chicago and gang violence. I just don't think people understand. It's like, do they think women don't like having sex? Like, no, for real, I mean this like seriously. Does this show us that women just don't like sex? Because that's not the case. They do. Because what do you say to a woman who's like, I want to do it? Why wouldn't there be men denying sex? Like, the point is, human beings, both male and female, enjoy the activity of, coitus. In which case, why are they acting like only men will be deprived by this? Quite literally doesn't make sense. Milano was able to garner support from other feminists on Twitter by using Lysistrata 2019. But others mocked Milano's efforts and pointed out that such abstinence would likely be endorsed by Vice President Mike Pence. Here are some samples from both sides. Kate Kelly said, yes, cis men need to feel the physical consequences of our reproductive rights being systematically eliminated. Francis Fisher, well, that'll be easy for me. What does that mean? Mary McDonald says, it's Lysistrata for me. Is that it? Lysistrata? Am I pronouncing it wrong? No, I don't want to open your tweet. And then Caleb Hull, a conservative, says, clears throat. Mike Pence loves this idea. They've been preaching abstinence for sex education instead of contraception. And now you have Alyssa Milano basically agreeing. I liked Shoe on Head's comment. Was this made up by 4chan and you fell for it? Voluntarily reducing the number of potential abortions to own the pro-lifers. It's quite literally the pro-life argument, just don't have sex. It's as if you had the power to avoid an unwanted pregnancy the whole time. What an odd moment to put it together. I wonder what other... I have some other tweets pulled up, I don't know. And then someone posted a picture of Pence smiling and laughing. Peter J. Hassan cuts to Mike Pence nodding vigorously. Yes, congratulations, Alyssa Milano. You have successfully agreed with conservatives on how to deal with the problem of abortion. So Robbie Starbucks says, yes, please stop having sex. You have the support of every Republican in the country. Listen, liberal guys who hang out with these women are going to be like, yeah, that's right. Like, I agree with you. Conservatives are going to be like, that's really smart of you guys to not engage in, irresponsible sex and have kids. What conservative guy is going to be impacted by this other than in agreement? All they're doing is hurting. You know what? This is what's wrong with being a male feminist. So this is actually really funny. I wanted to bring up this tweet because Alyssa Milano actually is getting, well, people don't like her. This woman, Lindsay Wheatston, I don't know who she is. She's a freelance writer. She, her, says, "Whew, the conservatives laughing while totally missing the point about the sex strike. We were never going to F you. This is about motivating the decent men in the world to get out there and kick all the so-called pro-life laws and their creators out on their asses. So what you're saying is you're withholding sex from the guys who agree with you and are trying to help you to motivate them? Like, that kind of sounds like punishing people who agree with you. You're right. You were never going to hook up with conservative guys. Why should they care you're doing this? All you're doing is punishing the guys who are actually helping you. I quite literally don't understand what the point of this is. And it's like, when these viral things are made, no one actually thinks about what the ramifications of it are going to be. Like, this is what I refer to, you hear me say this a lot, the Chinese finger trap problem, right? They think, I know, we'll refuse sex. It's like, right, you're pulling on the finger trap. That's not going to solve your problem. Conservatives don't care. In fact, they agree with you. But I guess I'll stress, like I mentioned in the beginning, liberals really don't understand how conservatives think. Again, quoting Jonathan Haidt's research, moderates and conservatives are able to predict how a liberal will behave, but liberals can't predict how conservatives will behave. I think that's true for moderates, too. I consider myself more moderate, right? But Lindsay Wheatston says, that being said, Alyssa Milano is responsible for Insatiable, which is ridiculously fat-phobic garbage. Yes, Alyssa Milano, you are on the side of people not liking you no matter what and not giving you forgiveness, which makes this whole thing just also stressful. But you know what? Look, whatever, man. I don't care. I don't know, you know, does Alyssa Milano have like a husband or something? Is he going to be upset by this? Because I certainly don't care. And I got to say this, my female friends like are mocking the idea as if they don't get to have sex. Like, women have to agree to not want to get laid too. You know what I mean? It takes two to tango. And I'm pretty sure women enjoy tangoing as much as men do because we're humans and it's like human desire. But whatever. I have no idea why I even made a video. You know, this was trending, okay? I wanted to make a video about something more important than this, but it was trending number 2 in the US, and I just facepalmed, and oh my god. I'm gonna have a special video on my main channel today talking about very important things relating to the culture war. Stick around, the next video will be at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you then.